Hello, computer scientists. This is Mr. Lang, and I'm excited to showcase some of the skills that we've been learning in advanced computer science. And we are working on building applications. We're using the curriculum Udacity, and it's an online curriculum put together by Google. So I think you've heard of Google, a well-known company. And we're building applications for phones and tablets using their software, Android Studio. And so we've been, again, using the curriculum Udacity, and we first started by learning the basic user interface, how things look on the screen. All right, and I know this may look pretty basic, but we're learning how to position things on the screen. You can kind of see our wireframe here of the padding and stuff like that. So we learn how to do that, and it's just the start. There's a whole lot more we're going to learn about the user interface in other lessons as well. Now we're on the lesson or the unit, the basic user input. So here we have a coffee company that wants us to build an app called Just Java, that's the name of their coffee, to where if users increase the quantity of coffees they want, this number will increase. And if they wanted to decrease the number of coffees they want, it will decrease. And then click the order button and we'll get a final price. So now we're starting to learn some of the input. Now between the basic user interface and basic user input, we went off to Udacity and took a class in Java. So we learned a little bit about the basics in Java to help us through these tutorials. Okay, and so here we are. All right, and so I want to showcase some of the tools that we are using to build this app as a developer. We're not just using Android Studio that we have in front of us right now, which is one of the great tools that we are using, and we're primarily using this tool, but it's not the only one. So we'll come back to a little bit more of Android Studio here in a second. I'm going to kind of move that off to the side. Another application or tool that we're using is GitKraken. This keeps track of all of our different commits as we work through our app. And I'm going to show you this in a little bit more depth in a little bit, but very powerful, amazing development piece of software right here. Thank you for the developers of GitKraken. Also, along with GitKraken, we have another part of it is called Glow. All right, and what this does is it allows us as developers to keep our progress and kind of in check, making sure that we are keeping up with what we need to get done by certain deadlines or whatever. And so we have what's called backlogs. These are all my backlogs that I have in progress right now that I'm working on. And this one right here is my basic user input, my lesson 1 that I'm working on. All right, and so here we are inside of lesson 1, and you can see all of my sprints. These are the sprint task lists that I need to get done in order to check off my lesson number 1. And so you can see where I have adjusted the XML, maybe I added some text views for titles, added an order button, added a decrement button, an increment button, maybe making the app a little bit more interactive, adding some code for Java with auto import, stuff like that, and you can see other ones as well. So these are all the things that I've been working on and checking off as a developer. Right now I am working on completing a screencast. When I'm done with this, I can check this off. You can see now 11 out of 13 done. Then when I'm done with this, I'm going to take a couple screenshots of the screens that I've been working on, and then I need to update my ePortfolio, all right, so I can put this video on my ePortfolio to show off to the world. All right, so I'm going to uncheck that because I'm not done with this yet. But what's kind of cool is when I do get done with this, you can see a couple cards that I've done. I've worked on my basic user input. We had to make a birthday card. And also my basic user input, my four-wheeling business application. And so I had to work on those. So when this one's done, I'll simply drag that over to done. But I'm not done yet, so we're going to drag that back. All right, I'm going to go back to my repositories here because I'm going to explain more of that here in just a little bit. Another tool that we use, and it's kind of an association, and it kind of goes hand in hand with GitKraken, is GitHub. Now, this is on the internet. All right, so we have our files on our local computer, on our hard drives, on our local laptops or desktops or whatever you might be using. But then we also want to push those files up to the internet so that way we can share that with other people. Maybe we're having some bugs or maybe we need some help and we just can't figure things out. We can put things on GitHub, share our repository, and people can then download our actual repository and help us fix it. Or we can invite them to our repository to help us fix things. And so it's a very valuable tool because you've got developers from around the world that are working on these very similar apps that are willing, that are excited when they can answer a question. And so that is very important. So kind of going along with asking questions is Stack Overflow. This is a very powerful tool as a developer. Start using it all the time whenever you have problems. For example, I was having problem with my SDK. What is an SDK? Well, that is a phone. This is another tool that we use. This is an emulator. This is a virtual cell phone. This is the Pixel 3X. And this allows me to run my program on an actual phone. What it looks like, what the numbers look like, how the styles look actually on this particular phone. All right, and I was having a problem with it. And so I wanted to uninstall it and reinstall it, and I could not figure it out. Went to Stack Overflow, uninstall. I'm not going to find the answer in the first one. I scrolled down a little bit, and then I found this guy right here telling me, hey, go to the SDK Manager, Tools SDK Manager, and do this and that. And man, that worked like a champ. So again, your Stack Overflow as a developer will be your friend. So I'm going to come back to GitHub in a little bit, but what I want to do is I want to reposition my monitor here a little bit. So give me a second to get things kind of repositioned, and I'm going to kind of bring things down a little bit so we can see things a little bit better if I can. Let me try to do this here, just repositioning a couple things. Bring over my Android Studio, and I'm going to go over to my text layout here because here comes my XML. I wish I could maybe make this a little bit different. I wish I could get rid of this, but I can't. But so here we are. I am actually on the commit for my lesson 1 where I updated my Java code by moving some methods around. All right, but it did start there. And I'm going to show you the power of GitHub here, or GitKraken, all right, with our repository. So this was my very initial just Java commit. And I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to check that out. And you can see it say head now. These are all the files that I brought over to this. And if I click on here, it is actually going to change my code. And it's very hard to see, but it says hello world right there. All right. So that's what I started with. I went to my Java code. My Java code doesn't have much in it. All right. Here, though, I updated to a linear layout and I added some text views. So I'm going to go ahead and check this out. And click over here in Android Studio, and then you can see that this has updated. Very hard to see, but it actually has some text views and whatnot, a button over here. And again, I changed it to a linear layout. All right. Again, if you haven't taken our first lesson in basic user interface, you may a little be confused about what this is, and I'm not going to explain everything, but take that lesson and make sure that, or that unit, and it explains a lot of these things. Here's my text views. All right. Another text view, and as well as my button, and my button is right there. Again, kind of hard to see, I'm sure, but they are there. And so I can take a look at this. I can look at my Java. My Java still don't really have much there. I've been just working on the XML. But here I added some background colors and edited some text. So what if I check out this commit? And here I added some background colors. So what if my app freaked out right here? I could go back to a previous commit and move forward from there. So I'm just going to kind of move along here and show you some things. Let me go ahead and, let's see here. I added some Java code, all right, and I added some comments. So I'm going to check that one out, see what my app is looking like. My app, I added the title, so you can see here that I added the title in this commit, and I see it right there. But I also added some Java code, and here it is right there. I added some Java code, and if I click over here, I can now see my Java code that has been added. But I'm going to go ahead and expand this real quick. I'll bring it back down here in a second if I can. And you can see that I have some notes to myself, all right? And these are your single line comments. You can see I put asterisks around it to kind of get my attention to it. I was having some problems with it. I couldn't figure some things out. I read some documents up above. That is always good. These are comments that was left from the developers at Udacity and Google when I imported their code into my app. All right. I also went to Stack Overflow. You can't see everything here unless I scroll over, but here's the website. I reference the website. So if I need to get back to this, that helped me solve this problem. And those are great things as a developer to keep track of. All right, as you're adding things, if things aren't working, you're going to have to solve problems left and right. As a developer, you're going to sit there in your cubicle with your computer in front of you, or maybe you're on your sailboat somewhere developing. Are you going to sit there and have to call somebody in and have them come there? No, you're going to go to the internet and try to solve problems where other people are guaranteed other people have had the same problems that you have had. You need to be a problem solver, and the internet is a great place for it. So there's our Android Studio, and again, I'm just kind of working through my commits. I'm going to go to this one. I updated Java to show price, and I hard-coded it. I added the quantity variable to Java. So let's go ahead and check that out. I'm going to right-click and check that commit out, see what that looks like. So I hard-coded the variable to Java for quantity. All right, so here's my quantity right here. All right, for my quantity for 5, I also probably have where I call it. Well, not yet. I have my increment and decrement. Am I even that far? No, I'm not that far yet. So here it is where I just coded my quantity so I could see how many cups of coffee that I have. Here I added a decrement and an increment and decrement button to the XML code. All right, and to Java. So now if I check this out and I jump over to here, now I'm going to start to see my increment. All right, I have a local variable of quantity here. You're going to see where that's going to change in a little bit. My local variable for quantity there. And these are hard numbers. These are fixed. These are not something that I can click on my actual button to do. And so, again, as I have here, this is actually checked out to a different version, and I can check it out and order. But if I would happen to do this, stop running it, and I'm going to go ahead and rebuild this to where this code now will be on this cell phone. So you can see it building here. It was successful. Now it's actually pushing it to the phone. It takes a second to reboot. But right now, if I go to increment, I click on this and it says 3 because my increment button is 3. So again, as I click on my increment button, all right, it went to 3 as it says there. If I click on my decrement, it will go to 1. I've hard-coded that. I really can't keep increasing it. We will do that in a second. We will add some global variables. And if I scroll my cell phone off to the side here, we'll bring that back in a second. So you can hear where I added a global variable to update my increment and decrement. So let's see what that looks like. Let's go ahead and check that out. All right, and so I click on here, and now you can see up here, I added a global variable, and I have my single line comment. Very important as a developer. Make sure you're putting your comments in your code. All right, you may make the next best Twitter or the next best Snapchat application, and you want to sell it. Some company's going to want to buy it. They're going to want to see your comments in your code so they know what you are doing. All right, everybody programs differently. So now I'm calling that quantity variable here that's set to 0 the first time. All right, but then it's going to take the quantity when I push the quantity button and multiply it by 5. So it's going to cost me $5 per cup of coffee. All right, and here's my quantity plus 1. You're going to see where I actually update that in a little bit as well. I updated the Java code as well. So you're probably going to see if I go ahead and check out the last kind of lesson here for lesson 1. These are for lesson 2. We'll get into that in my next tutorial. So let me go ahead and look at my code now, and you can see where I've changed it to where I have a local variable calling the global variable, and I'm going to add 1 to it for my increment. Here is my decrement. It's calling the global variable. This one's calling the global variable 0. This one's local to my decrement, and minusing 1 to it, and then it will display the quantity. It's going to find out what the new quantity is here, and then it's going to print it with my submit order. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. Let me go ahead and load this up to my phone. You can see it building, and then you can see it pushing it up to the phone, which is really cool. And here I can test it out, a great testing environment to make sure things are working like they should. So if I add my quantity, it's continue to bring it up, and if I choose my order, $35. Oh, I only wanted 6. Decrement, it's taken 1 away, and now it's at $30. So that global variable is really helping me out for that price, all right, to keep track of the price as I'm working through, excuse me, the quantity, well, then will get converted to the price. So it's amazing what we can do with, again, these all these commits. Very important. If I would happen to have coded this here and something did not work, I can always go back to a previous program, and it's as simple as checking it out. What did I do differently? So what do you mean, what did I do differently? Check this out. Let me show you this tool. So right here in GitHub, GitKraken, I can click on this. I can see what I added. So I added my global variable right here, and you can see that I took out my local variable where I initialized quantity here in this method. I took this one out. You can see that I added this variable quantity for my increment. You can see that I took it out here and added this. Amazing things for you to be able to. Can I blow that up a little bit? Can you see that okay? Let me try to blow that up. There we go. That may help out a little bit. Again, things that I've added in green, things that I've taken out in red. All right. So let me go ahead and close this. Let me go ahead and say, okay, I updated some things. Let me go ahead and check out this. Now this code is that update, and you can see that I took out some things that I did not need. I took out some of the methods. I cleaned some things up. I added some things here for my submit my order. Can I scroll down here? Oh, that's all I had to do. So you can see what lines that I took out. I took out these lines, and in line 59 through 60, I added this method. Again, the method is called when the order button is clicked. So when customers click that order button, this method is called, and it's multiplying my quantity. Maybe if I had 6 coffees, all right, that I wanted, maybe I've got 10 coffees. Everybody needs coffee today. When I click this order, it updates the price. That's what this method is doing. Again, you can see what I've taken out, what I've added. I can then see the entire file. All right, this is the file from top to bottom, what the new file looks like with all my methods moved around and changed. Again, I can look at my difference view to see what I took out, what I added. This is great for debugging. What can you do to help debug? Okay, another great feature that Android Studio has is what if your code's not working and you really need to figure it out. You go on to Stack Overflow, you're not quite sure why your program is not working. Well, they have what's called like the stop code. All right, where you can use to debug your program, where it will actually stop the code or your program at that point to see if you have any errors, anything from that point and above. All right, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I want to see maybe I'm having a problem with my increment. I'm going to put a stop right there at the bottom of my increment. I'm not sure if it's maybe my decrement. So you know what? I'm going to put a stop right there at the end of my decrement method. And I'm also going to put a stop at the end of my display quantity. All right. I'm going to put a stop method there as well. All right. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take that one out and put it on display price. All right. At the end of that method. All right. So here we go, you guys. I am going to now put this in debug mode. All right, so I'm going to click that. It's going to run it. It's going to put it in debug mode. You can see that my cell phone is now in debug mode, which is really cool. I'm going to jump over to debug mode down here and choose debugger here so I can kind of see as I work through this project. So I'm going to go ahead and press my plus button first, which was my increment. And you can see that this is now blue. You can see that the quantity is 1, and that is accurate. When I press that plus button, it is the quantity is 1. Now, it didn't display the quantity because I stopped my program right here. It is not going down here, and it's not displaying the quantity. All right, so it's right there. All right, so now I see that. I'm going to go ahead and press my play button here, or my resume program. All right, and I'm going to press. And now you can see that I resumed it. Now on the screen, it has a number 1 here because I resumed it, and it then calls the method to display the quantity, which it did there. All right. So now, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and that seemed to work okay. So I'm going to click my decrement button, and there is it ends at the end of my decrement method. All right, my quantity is now 0, and that's true because it was 1 before, and I took 1 away from it. Quantity minus 1 now gives me 0. So I know that's working, all right? Now I don't see it running here yet because I see a 1 still there because, again, it stopped right here. It did not go any further in my program. I just want to test things out from this stop method and above. All right, so again, a great feature from a developer to use to kind of debug your code. All right, so if I went and said, all right, well, that worked. Let me go ahead and resume my program. It will run through the rest of it. You can see now that it is at a 0 right there. Well, what if I wanted to then click my order? Well, you know what? I probably should have where I plus this and at least get one of those on there so I can see that. Let me go ahead and resume it. I'm at 1 now. And now I'm going to click my order button. And if I look down here, my number is 5 because it costs $5 for a cup of coffee, and I've only chosen one of those, all right, and so that number is 5. And if I would happen to resume this, I can see now that it's $5. Again, the breakpoints are very valuable as a developer to kind of see where your program is running great, and then all of a sudden, hey, where does it stop running? Why is it stop running? For you then to debug, head over to Stack Overflow, do some research, ask some of your fellow classmates, ask people around the world in GitHub. It's an amazing world to be a developer with all the resources at your fingertips. So again, you guys, this is only the tip of the iceberg. We just started learning these things about our user input, our Java, but again, you can see the value that this may have, and I can't wait to see your amazing apps at the end of this unit when we have our projects and you guys do some really cool stuff. I'm hoping that you see the value in this because, again, cell phones aren't going anywhere. I can't wait to see the apps that you guys actually develop, and it's just and it's an exciting time to be a developer in computer science. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Have a great day, everyone.